Hey everyone, welcome to episode 9 of the Sounds of Skaia podcast, the only podcast that's exclusively only about the music of Homestuck, because there's way too many podcasts. So, I'm Luke, you all know that. I've introduced myself many times. Roxy, we know who you are. Do we know who you are, Roxy, right?
Yep, I am returning from episodes 2 and 3. Or 3 and 4. 2 and 3. I can't remember.
You've been in a couple. So, but this person is new, and some of you may know, some of you may not know. This person next is Tad. Introduce yourself.
My name is Tad. I do a podcast called Let Me Tell You About, and a Dungeons & Dragons podcast called Revival, a Dungeons & Dragons real play podcast. Please listen to it. Oh, also, I fucking hate Homestuck.
A veteran in the field.
Do you know, like Helga in Hey Arnold?
Who doesn't?
I feel Helga is my spirit animal. Just replace Arnold with Homestuck. Yeah, I mean, technically you could say I do have a Homestuck shrine, because I have one of, I call it my Homestuck suicide blanket, because it's one of those quest bed covers. And I've got it sitting right over there on my made-up bed, and I've got my Homestuck books on it. So technically, yes, my name is Tad, and I do have a Homestuck shrine.
Who doesn't?
Shit, I don't have one of those yet. I actually recently received my land posters that I got off of the What Pumpkin sale.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm getting my Homestuck shrine ready. It's in progress.
I ordered a Homestuck Air of Breath bed set about 2 years ago, and it still hasn't arrived. So,
classic hussy.
Thanks whatpumpkin.com, a website which has died. Or was it on? No, it was We Love Fine.
Fun fact, problemsleuth.com isn't owned by Viz Media. Some random dude just bought it.
Let me see where it leads.
I'm afraid. Oh, okay. It's a great website.
Oh, man.
Yes.
Okay, that's great.
Yep. So I actually, I put up a list before. I have spent over $640 on Homestuck.
Oh dear.
And Homestuck accessories.
Homestuck and Homestuck accessories. Wait, same joke.
That could be our sync test. Who can make the least funny King of the Hill reference? The answer? Probably me, statistically, if we go by our track record.
How many have there been?
Thousands.
Really?
Just in this episode alone.
When I do my D&D podcast, I'll often slip little Homestuck bullshit into the story, and the other people have no idea, so I get away with it every time. It's great.
Oh my god.
That D&D podcast is Revival, a Dungeons & Dragons real play podcast.
Yeah, keep showing it so you can have more than 3 people listening.
Oh dear. Roxy, don't set him on fire in the first 3 minutes.
It's alright. I do that all the time.
Alright, so let's move on here. So
I refuse.
What do we got in the agenda here on this bullet point list?
Alright, episode 9, the best episode, has 4 great songs, 4 hits, 4 all classics. We got Doctor by George Bazinga. We got Endless Climb by George Bazinga. We got Atomic Ebonpire by Toby Radiation, and My Name's Radiation. Hello,
Toby Bazinga?
Fox. And Black by Toby Black Fox.
All right,
oh,
so I guess we'll go right into Doctor. Who wants to go first?
So, yeah, Doctor is a song that I know very well, that everybody who's listened to Homestuck music, just like in general, knows very well. And I actually have a quote here from George Bazinga's Reddit AMA, which says, I wrote Doctor at an interesting time. One where I wanted to convey my emotions through music. I was inspired by Moon Song from Cave Story, and I still use PXTONE, which is a music software developed by Pixel. The Doctor was my name, a reference to Doctor Who, and the Doctor from Cave Story.
Neat.
Yeah, the Cave Story influence definitely shows, but that's probably just because it uses the same instruments and format as all the other Cave Story songs.
Yeah, this Doctor's always been my favorite. Out of every song in Homestuck, Doctor's always been my favorite. I know that there's, like you were saying with the fucking Undertale Cave Story. the cave story reference. They use the same, I believe it's the drums and then two other instruments. I had it written down, but I'm not sure where they went.
Hold on, let me look at the tattoo on my arm. It's the drums and the violin midis.
Neat. But Doctor is the track that plays in Act 4, the opening of Act 4. It's the song that plays when you're exploring the land of wind and shade. It's whenever I hear this song, I can always just kind of see John walking around the land of wind and shade, not just because it's literally the song used during that, but because it's got this really light and I guess an exciting kind of feeling like, oh man, everything's getting ready. It reminds me a little bit of the first Hobbit movie, if any of you guys saw that.
The best one.
I have not seen.
I saw it, yeah.
Yeah, it's there's no like big epic battles really. I mean, I think there kind of is near the end, but a lot of the movie is dedicated to getting Bilbo out there, going on his quest, and kind of in this big sense of adventure, which is what I always think of when I hear this song. Throughout the entire song, there's a beeping, like a heartbeat monitor that, for the most part, stays consistent. Sometimes it changes in pitch, but it always stuck out to me because Act 4 was when the comic really, like, the first 3 acts, and I believe it was the first 3, and then the Midnight Crew intermission, and then Act 4 started, and the first all of that was pretty much setting up the world and the setting of the story where you could understand how things kind of worked. But once Act 4 started, Nana Sprite already told John about the Air, Night, Witch, and Seer. She told him about Prospit and Durst, told him about Skaia, hinted at the ultimate reward. And as soon as this one loaded up, you saw it go from his house, go down through the clouds, then hit the land, have a big, huge open area with the music there. Because everything was now fine. Like, okay, we're done with the tutorial. Everything here's done. Now let's get to the real meat and potatoes.
Yeah, Homestuck plays a lot like a Dungeons and Dragons game where there's a lot of world building in the beginning, then there's a little bit that's good, and then it just goes downhill.
I find it interesting that the first thing you think of is John walking around, because I always just picture the landscape of the Land in Wind and Shade when I hear the song. It just feels very environmental, I guess. That might be the wrong word.
No, I think I get what you're saying, because it is, it's not a song that really takes charge, that indicates something like later on, what we'll talk about with Black, where there's segments of the song that happen, they quickly end, start again, end, start again, end, which indicate, like, something's happening, stops, something's happening, something's happening, something's happening. Yeah, flashbait. And Doctor doesn't really have that, it just kind of continues on its own. A big part of the appeal I have and the connection I have to this is almost certainly the nostalgic factor, due to me being like I would have been 14 when I started reading the comic, and I remember I just didn't like normal music, and on the album, this one sounded video gamey, so I gravitated to it really easily in the Homestuck discography.
You'd listen to the Lego Racers 2 soundtrack on loop for like 5 years.
Yeah, you know what? I still listen to RuneScape's music. Real shit? Sea Shanty 2? That's lit as fuck, fam. But to summarize Doctor there, the purpose of art, to sound as douchey as possible, the purpose of art is to elicit an emotional reaction, and Doctor does that really, really well. When I hear that, I think of like, here's this big open world to explore with all this crazy new stuff you can see.
Yeah, what Homestuck does the best, I feel, is elicit reactions from the people reading it, which is what keeps it alive, technically, to this day.
Especially because most of the big moments, not all of them, but most of them, have the accompanying track that goes along with it. And just like, and Toby, don't call me Toby or I'll fucking gut you like the pig you are, Fox.
We're all breaking your goddamn kneecaps.
Yeah, Toby Fox, and that's spelled Faux.
Because he's a faker, a liar, a cheater.
Like, if you look at Undertale, that game wouldn't have been nearly as interesting or as influential if the music was just kind of or it didn't have that synchronization with what was happening on screen.
Yeah, I feel like our brain does like a lot with like music because, you know, there's like I feel like very few greater feelings than just finding great music to listen to, because as every clickbait article tells you, you might be special if you get goosebumps while listening to music. So and those are the kind of scientific journals that I subscribe to. So
Fake Science Quarterly. Sea bears and fairy tales are real.
So it's science. This is all based in science. Roxy, what do you think about science?
I think it's fake and gay.
Hell yeah!
Earth is flat. Wake up.
Neil deGrasse Tyson is a fucking cuck.
Yep. Neil deGrasse Cuckson, I'd say. Doctor, I think, Doctor's the most remixed Homestuck song, I think, right? Volume 5. Volume 5 had like 16 fucking remixes.
Wait, you mean Cool and New? Oh wait,
Well, Cool and New, we've had an entire album devoted to just Doctor.
That's what I was thinking of. That is... Let me see how many songs long that is, actually.
But yeah, that was Cool New Music Team. And then Volume 5 of Homestuck was... the first 4 were mostly songs that were used in the comic. There was like a few that weren't, that people just kind of made. But then the 5th volume was where they had like a bunch of songs that weren't in the comic necessarily. And that's where you had...
56 tracks.
Yeah, 56. I was waiting to say it.
Yowza.
Yeah.
I interrupted you so I could get it in first.
Damn, I've been owned. Epic owned style.
Yeah, that's Doctor. Doctor's pretty fucking good.
Doctor Strange.
Shut up.
I am Doctor Strange. That's an inside joke with me and my brother and nobody else. Alright, so should we go to the next song now?
The next song is Endless Climb
by George Bazinga.
Oh, fuck. That was louder than I expected.
Yeah, I have the bot set to like 10 for volume.
Sweet Christmas.
I think that's just because of my shitty Razer headphones constantly having a bass boost that is not needed.
Oh no, trust me, this bot is way too loud.
But yeah, Endless Climb, that is the I think it's from Rose Descend. Right? Is that the name? I don't remember if it even had... I don't remember if the Flash that introduced the Land of Light and Rain actually had a name.
Yeah.
I don't actually remember... I don't remember hearing the song in the Flash. Shit, I'll mute myself.
It did reference...
Okay.
Wait, hold on a second. I'm on the wrong wiki page.
But yeah, I remember the Flash
wiki.
Because it was... It had a really, really cool use of color. And it's one of those few pages from Homestuck that remind the reader that Andrew Hussey's actually a good artist who actually understands color theory, but he just doesn't do in the sacrifice to get an average of like 7 pages out a day. You know, he just didn't really exercise it that much. Except for that time he did. And no one liked it because Rose was ugly as fuck.
But yeah, Andrew Hussey does understand color. He does have like a patent for method and system of improved color selection.
That was that thing. I think it was either his or his dad. It was probably Hussey that came up with it. And then I think it was sold to like some kind of medical thing because it could be used to detect cancer.
Wait, hold on, what?
Andrew Hussey cured cancer?
Pretty much. It was
I can't believe Homestuck cured cancer.
And I don't have a source open in front of me, but I remember hearing this several times that he had a patent or sold the patent for it was like a color thing that could choose a color and find all instances of it nearby, or I'm sure it's more complicated than that, but it was something that could be used to detect cancer cells in a particular scan. And that was one of the things that he made, because remember, before he made Homestuck, he was a computer science turbo nerd.
Which is why, all that shit in, like, the captcha logs and all that stuff.
Yeah, the fucking data structures.
My favorite part of Homestuck, and the part that we all thoroughly read.
Considering I've read Homestuck in its entirety 3 times, and then on a 4th I only got about halfway through. Like, yeah, I'm pretty familiar with data structures by now.
Yeah, you can make a goddamn app.
I used to actually have a program on my computer that... It was a terrible idea, but it turned it into the FIFO one that John has, the first in, first out. And so I couldn't actually access, like, windows and shit unless they were in the capsule. It was really cool, but oof.
Oh yeah, I remember that program.
Yeah, I got that from Homestuck General. I think someone handed it to me. It was pretty neat.
Yeah, I think I got it back when the forums were still up. Or along with, there was... Actually, I think I missed my chance to bring this up, because I think it had Dr. Endless Climb for the music.
You can bring it up. We don't care. This isn't like our real podcast. Nobody's listening.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
These microphones aren't even on.
You guys talk or something. I'm going to plug in my USB to see if I can...
This is all just a carbon monoxide hallucination.
Alright, I can open it and I can see if the music is in fact what I think it is.
Part of the program that had the capture log system would have that music in it?
No, this is this was a game called Hammerkind.
Oh,
You just climb up as Rose builds the house.
Yep. I tried getting Alex, my co-host from Let Me Tell You About, to play that game with me, and he strongly refused. It's Hammerkind is probably the best Homestuck fan game next to the Puzzle Quest thing. I don't remember what it's called.
Puzzle Stuck?
Yeah, Puzzle Stuck, where it had all the different colors and you could... That one's a legit real as fuck 100 Underland Twice game that I actually couldn't play that game after the comic ended because I get like super emotional, either like mad or sad or something like that, and I just like, nah, I can't play this game right now. Fuck this.
Just disappointed, really.
Eventually I got over it and I played it.
Alright, I launched the game and it doesn't have any music. I could have sworn it had music and that it used Endless Climb or something like that, and I guess it doesn't. So, oops.
Oh well, my apologies.
I should be the one apologizing, but whatever.
Yeah, you should be.
Endless Climb is one of the core Homestuck themes. It's one of the themes that you see a lot of tracks either reference to or remix it, reference it, do something with it as kind of Rose's theme. That's not of the big themes. Big Mood, Endless Climb is not my favorite. It's probably the worst, I think.
I think it's forgettable, honestly. It's good. It's just not very memorable.
The most forgettable song, and I'm always a little disappointed, is the song that plays when John is sleeping. And then he's looking right up at the John Sleeps, Skaia Skies or something.
Sky Magicant?
Where he's just looking up into Skaia and it plays it as like the clouds turn into things and then you start to see Jade. I always like that one, but like there's not much there you can mold into a theme. It's just like a little transitional page, but I always liked it.
I thought it used part of Showtime or something like that, because I swear I recognize the notes when I play that back in my head. It goes like, do, 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 do.
Nah, you're thinking of a different one. Or maybe I'm thinking of a different one that used it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Endless Climb is alright.
Back at a bunch of Homestuck stuff.
Any other thoughts on Endless Climb there?
None.
Not really. Yeah, I guess that's it.
Next song, Atomic Empire. Shit.
Yeah, Bot's not here, buddy.
right, well, that's the one that played with the Land of Heat and Clockwork, right?
That was Dave Accelerate.
Jeez.
God damn it.
So yeah, this is like a song that's sort of like it sounds very Strife, I feel.
Yeah, it definitely fits Dave Accelerate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that
it's
was
nothing.
that was a really cool flash. I think that was the one where it was the fake out, right?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Probably.
The fake
I
out
don't
that
know.
it had
I
Lil
don't think
Cal
that
spray.
one was.
I've never said no in my life.
But yeah, that was the one. I'm pretty sure it was the fake out where it was the Land of Heat and Clockwork introduction. Dave jumped down. He had the Snoop Dogg snow cone, whatever the fuck sword. Which, by the way, has the fucking coolest gimmick. The swords that, like, it has a clock in it that rewinds time back to when it wasn't broken. That's rad as fuck.
Doctor Strange could have used that in Infinity War.
Like, it's cool as shit. Oh, that's such a good concept. But because the only way that he could have gotten the sword, if I remember right, was to break it. So he just it's such a fucking awesome concept. But that was a really cool flash. The song is more it's got that ding because he's got the shades. They got that ding from carrying over from Problem Sleuth.
She's got that ding?
Got that ding he sent him.
Ooh.
And so it's got that in there, and then it's just action, going in, doing stuff. Heat and Clockwork is a very brutal land. It's very hot. There's always motion from the gears. You know, tick, 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 they're turning. He's fighting a lot of... At that moment, I think it was a little bit after John fought the two ogres and had a hell of a time. And you see Dave just chopping them up. Basilisks, imps, bunch of dudes. And so you see that, harsh, strong music. Dave jumping around doing crazy shit. The fake out with Lil Cal Sprite. And it's also it led into one of my favorite moments in Homestuck, which was the Doom to Rose and Dave, where they had that conversation where Rose was like wondering what was going to happen when Dave went back after John and Jade died. And it was this neat moment where Rose like dropped her act for a bit. And it always seemed like her act where she was like, because Rose has always been like, I don't know if fastidious.
Prim and proper, would you say?
Definitely not prim and proper. I think that's the opposite of what Rose... Well, Rose would... she's very snarky, very sarcastic.
Yeah, snark is the word that came to mind.
Yeah, she dropped that for a bit to ask Dave to tell her that she was like, I'm actually pretty spooked about what's going to happen when you go back. Like, tried to delay him for a bit, and then eventually just went like, all right, I guess just do it. And that was always a really neat moment. It's a shame Rose as a character died after Act 5 and never came back.
Yeah.
That was a moment of silence.
Yeah, no, I get it completely. Yeah, I'm listening.
Oh yeah, that's Atomic Ebonpire. I think that also Dupablaze Ka Magma, I think also is the one that built up off this, where it had Snoop Dogg in there saying drop it like it's hot, and then it would like reverse the track and play again with more shit. Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot. Or maybe I'm getting them mixed up with Eggs and Biscuit.
Reddit.com/r/MyLittleHomestuck. A real subreddit.
Is that... I guarantee you that's real.
No, it is. I'm on it right now.
Oh my god.
And it's great.
I'm disappointed in it for existing. I'm disappointed in you for looking at it.
Hey, to be fair, I typed it in.
That doesn't make it better.
Yeah, no, it makes it worse. I agree.
But remember, Homestuck is revolutionary for being the first webcomic to
suck.
have a furry who is not essential to the plot. No, wait, Jade.
That's not true. Nepeta is like the main character.
Jade was pretty essential to the plot. If only as like
what I mean is that it's she's not the main character.
She kind of is.
There were furry webcomics before.
Nepeta had such a character arc. She started out a character and ended I guess a dead character. So that's a line.
Jade is one of those characters that at the start he wasn't really sure what he wanted to do with her, and had Jade as being like this kind of... Because what Andrew Hussey does as he was writing Homestuck is... And you can kind of tell this if you look really closely at how things connect, but there's a few things that he absolutely for sure had planned from the start of the comic or very early on. Then there's some things that he intentionally left open. One of the bigger ones was Lil Cal as a whole. He knew that Lil Cal was going to be something, he just wasn't sure what. So he just had him being this creepy puppet that had the weird eyes, and then, I'll get back to that later. And then eventually he ended up turning Lil Cal into, this is the thing that brings Lord English into places. You know, repurposing something he left behind. And with Jade, a lot of that seemed to come up. Like Jade would be able to look into Skaia to get that, those hints to give out to the other characters. It also worked to introduce Prospit's moon, get some more info on Skaia, shit like that. But she would fall asleep sometimes, and he just left that open. He's like, okay, I can do this with something. I don't know. Maybe I'll come back to this, and I'll come up with a good reasoning for it. He leaves a lot of things scattered around the story that are just open for that. Like in each person's room, like in Dave's room, one of the big things that he would embalm shit and then just put it into jars, and then he would take photographs. And eventually the photograph thing did come up, but a lot of those things were just kind of left there and never came back. Like John never really mentions magic tricks again. It's just kind of never brought up again.
He builds a deck of cards.
It's not really magic, though. Would have been cool if he tried to do magic while he was in Lomax. It took me a second to even remember that it was one of the Alpha planets.
One of them that he actually points out in the books is that with Pester Chum early on, the rancorous setting was like, he mentions, you're going to turn yourself up from pleasant to miffed, but you're not, this isn't a rancorous situation. There are dire consequences never brought up. Each character having an instrument not really brought up. I guess Frey motifs kind of.
Really the Lost of webcomics.
But yeah, there's
I like how Collide used the Frey motifs finally.
Yeah, I was gonna fucking tear my hair out because they showed up one time before that. Once they were introduced, when you got to play that John Flash, you got to walk around Loas again. You could go to the Frey motif store, and I think you were one boonbuck short because you gave it to Dave. But yeah. You could buy the Frey motifs, and then they showed up once, right before Cascade. No. Yeah, Cascade, the end of Act 5. Showed up once in like the top thing with Dave and Jade, and then never showed up again until Collide. So that was one of the things that same with you could see some of these things, the Frey motifs. I think he was just holding on to those, which in the end it did work out better to have them show up at the very, very end. But stuff like the Guardians or what were they called? Was it Guardians? Typhus and Hephaestus and all those.
Those were the denizens.
Denizens. Those were brought up and then just kind of left there and didn't really do anything with them until really, really late on. But yeah, that's I forgot how I got on this tangent, but Atomic Eben Pyre is a pretty good song.
It's great. Next song, Black by Toby Fox.
Make her a member of the Midnight Crew.
Nobody's heard this one before.
What's Homestuck? Hello, this is a song. How are you? We're listening to it. Oh, well, okay, it's done. So, yeah.
That's the whole one. I thought it was pretty short, personally, but a good addition nonetheless.
Yeah, that's classic Toby Fox.
Yeah, Black is Jack Rise Up, right? It's not Descend.
Yes.
Descend has its own unique track.
No, I'm pretty sure it was.
Because remember,
man?
Black opens up. Jack Rise Up opens up with "Make Her a Member of the Midnight Crew" from the Eddie Morton original song. I'm a member of the Midnight Crew. Descend opens up with something else.
Ascend.
Yeah, Jack Ascend, that's it. WV, Rise Up, is the other one I was thinking of. But yeah, Jack Ascend. Each segment of the song goes bum bum bum. It ends in like an upward screeching, and it jumps, does a thing, jump.
I just now realized it reminds me of the Super Mario World castle.
Kind of.
I never thought about it before, but
if you sped it up a bit, I could see it. I remember the Flash had that really, really fucking cool transition into Durst that never worked on the YouTube versions, where it would zoom into the middle and it would spin around and around and around and around and around. I always thought that was really fucking cool.
Yeah, if you've ever heard of Tuman, he uploaded a version where that worked. Because he uploads everything in 1080p, 60 frames a second.
Yeah, I know that the previous album, actually, I don't know if it was pre or post Volume 4, because now Volumes 1 through 4 are all condensed into one album that I think is $4.13. But there was a Midnight Crew album, Drawing Dead, I think it was called. And each of the Midnight Crew get kind of an instrument assigned to them, and then you hear those in black. There was I should have fucking grabbed the source of this one too, but I remember
is $10.
Oh, probably $10.25, right?
No, $9.95.
Oh, that's lame.
Yeah, Midnight Drawing Dead is $5.25, so no number magic there.
Yeah,
it's probably from Viz. Those fucks.
Those fucks buying Homestuck in 2017.
Well, this is from the official Homestuck Bandcamp, and I don't think they've really changed anything since they acquired Homestuck.
But if I remember correctly, there was a quote from Toby Fox about Black, where he said he set out to make the dumbest song possible.
No, that you're thinking of.
You're thinking of Hive.
You're thinking of Liquid Negrosity.
Liquid Negrosity. That is.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
Liquid
that's.
Negrosity. Liquid Negrosity was when he tried to make a terrible song, and then everybody liked it, so he made it better.
And then I think that turned into Black, right?
No. Well, Liquid Negrosity is a motif that's used in Black.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah, because it's got that strong kind of consistent beat throughout it. It's also the intro to the first big bad of Homestuck, because you see hints at stuff, but it isn't until this moment when you get to see I think at this time he was just Jack Noir. You get to see him actually do some crazy shit, and he fucks up the Black Queen using the presents, which ended up being, the bunny. Which I was always a little confused. What was up with the rabbit? When you take it out, does it just? I guess it's like a baby bird, where it just bonds with the first person it sees.
Yeah, that's probably it.
With Jack, it just hopped out, killed the queen because he probably told it to, and then just fucked off. I don't remember what happened with the rabbit after that. I don't remember if he took it anywhere.
Oh, I always thought. You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it. That makes more sense, because I always thought that he put the ring on and then killed the queen, but that's not the order of events that was actually portrayed.
It's kind of it's fast in the flash, but there's a few slices, and then you see the queen's finger with the ring on the ground and her kind of twitching.
I don't know. I thought maybe there was a knife in the box or something.
I mean, there was the royal deringer that the rabbit had, because remember, it was the full complete rabbit, because that package was supposed to go to John. Jade was supposed to give it to him, where it was the second to last rabbit, because it was the one that Jade put into the temple, sent to Jake. Jake gave it a bunch of crazy shit, then took it back to Jade, sent it back to her at her home so she could deliver it to John to give him it for whatever reason. I don't remember. I think it was to defend against Jack later on or something. Skaia's weird.
Yeah.
Y'all remember that post, which was when Homestuck.com came out, and that person used their fridge that could go on the internet and read Homestuck on their fridge?
This is a little bit off topic, but since we're talking about the scene where he puts on the ring, It just reminds me of one of the first comics in the Paradox Space book where like everything is the same except the Harlequin doesn't have any arms. So like Jack keeps trying to put on the ring and then he has no arms, so it just falls off.
Homestuck, but the Harlequin has no arms.
Yeah.
I think it was that, or it was like the other arm, or something really silly. That was
No,
Paradox Space had a few good comics.
It was sort of like
It
the
was-
old Marvel like what ifs, which was cool, and also, but some of it was also like we're anime emo trolls
Summer
and we hate
Summer
our
Teen
lives.
Romance is my favorite.
Yeah, Summer
By
Teen
far.
Romance was the biggest face turn of 2016 because I expected it to be garbage, and then it surprised me by being one of the best ones there.
It was oh yeah.
I would say it was as good as the inaugural death of Mr. Seven.
Is it written by Andrew Hussey or?
The inaugural death of
I'm-
Mr. Seven was Summer Teen Romance was written by someone else. Notably not Edward Cohen.
I'm disappointed that they removed the original version of what they showed the troll reproductive system was like, where Tavros
my
was just
God.
a fountain.
That's right. Fuck, I almost forgot about how fucking lame Paradox Space was. I remember they would
Yeah.
put like there was one comic, the first one I believe was like John waking up and eating like a cake, and then the second one was I think the Jack one where he had the two missing arms. And then there's one where it was Dual Scar, and then Dual Scar's like getting killed on like a fucking shrine or whatever with with troll blood all over the place. And then there's one they did for Halloween where it was like a pretty bad Junji Ito homage with the new Aradia, I forget, Damara. And they
Yeah,
had
I
put,
think
like, a
that's the
fucking
one I was
trigger
talking
warning
about
on
with the
it.
emo one. Yes, I remember that one.
They put like, oh, trigger warning. This one has, intense violence and all this, and all it was like an off-screen
Stuff that Homestuck is not known for.
Like an episode of 13 Reasons Why.
But
I've
like
never seen that.
that always bugged the
Neither
shit
have
out
I.
of me because it's off-screen implied that Cronus pushed her off a cliff, but showing Dual Scar getting his head chopped off is perfectly fine. Interesting. And then they had to reuse it later on, but they couldn't. Whoever was managing the website didn't know anything, so they just reused the same one for, I think, that page where Tavros turns into like a spaghetti fountain.
I just sent it in current
A
guests.
fountain of wonderful cheese.
Yeah, he turns into like a gross spaghetti fountain because the joke is that Karkat wrote like a script, and Dave has no idea how troll reproduction works, so he's ad-libbing and just saying like a bunch of gross shit. But then a bunch of people, and I say people in air quotes, got, I guess, terrified because it was body horror or something stupid. There was a
What?
few of those. I remember they also had to change, they had to change 17 Romance twice, I think. The first one, no, 3 times. Because the first time they had the normal page, second time they blurred it, and third time they just replaced it with a bunch of text.
Ugh.
And then the fourth one was they had Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff dressed up as the Kickstarter trolls, but they had lipstick on, so it was transphobic, so they had to remove that. But yeah, Paradox
Oh,
Space
actually,
is a fucking
Are
joke.
drag queens? Ugh. No,
Both
ugh,
actually
ugh,
both
ugh.
things are included in the other image that I have available here. It's sending. I'm just trying to talk so that when I'm done talking, it'll have sent already.
Yeah, to delay it. But Paradox Space
Um,
was
Oh, there it is.
yeah, they removed it was so dumb because it's what happens when you it's a preview of what happened with Hive Swap, where you have a bunch of people who don't really know how to handle certain things, and so they handle it in like the worst way possible. But yeah, Paradox Space, there was good Paradox Space comics. There was ones that were just really short, and there we go. The ones that didn't have words were generally pretty good. But yeah, Black, really cool. A lot of information coming in at once. I don't really know if the song is that great without being able to visualize what's happening in the song.
I think it is.
Yeah, it's definitely not bad even without that, but and that's the hardest part about a lot of Homestuck tracks is separating them from the flash animation that they would go with.
Hey, I found the page, the replacement version of the page, and I think it's a good replacement because they just have Dave talking in the way he usually does, and it seems like it's pretty funny. I'm too lazy to read the whole thing, though.
Yeah, like, this one is a better joke in the end, so I guess in the end it did come out better than it could have been. Because the original joke was just like, whatever, it's not that great. It's just a gag. It's, spaghetti fountain. Because, that whole, not turn of phrase, that whole, thing
Visual?
about, like, dropping your spaghetti. Because that's what it was, that's what the joke is based off of. He's dropping his spaghetti. But yeah, that's about all I got to say on that. On, Paradox Space and Black.
Well, this podcast is, well, that's the end of this episode. See you all next week with Tad again. Because we're recording
That's right.
2
Yeah.
episodes.
I'm not
baby.
done with you fuckers yet.
He's permanent.
Yeah.
He's replacing me.
Yeah, one thing I want to say before we end the episode is that the funniest thing happened, like, a few days ago. Someone pinged me in the Let Me Tell You About server, because I guess they were watching the podcast, and they were like, and then they deleted the ping, and they said, "Hey guys, I don't know how I didn't know this, but I guess Roxy's a guy?" And I thought that was so funny because I've made it painfully obvious that that's not the case.
Ah.
I just, like, normally, I should be, like, upset, but I just thought it was really funny because I've made it really clear that that's not the case, especially in that server. Anyway, if you're listening, no, I'm not.
Roxy is a beautiful woman, and you all should respect her.
Respect women.
It's 2018,
Respect
man.
women.
Keep up. 2014, keep up. And let's take out this podcast with a...
Would you like some LMTYAs?